So please, if um, if you have any questions afterwards, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll try to make it through with uh, with no voice, but Bulldog Generators. That's where I'll give you a little bit of an introduction of who we are. So my father had started the business um, about 20, almost 25 years ago now. And so what we do is we do sales, servicing, and installation. So we have been in the business for quite some time. Um, and so this is my little guy, Harley. Um, and so a few things on our agenda is why do you need a generator? Generator options, in-home assessments, service levels, and budgetary pricing. So we'll go through all of that. And if you have any questions in the meantime, just feel free to stop me and ask. So in 2023, we did celebrate our 20 years in business. We are family owned and operated, and we are currently serving well over 4,000 customers in the GTA, and we go all the way up to Bala. So our biggest range is the GTA and Muskoka area. So we do have a huge range of where we go, who we service. Um, we do have all licensed electricians, HVAC, HVAC people to install these. And we also have factory trained technicians. So we actually send our technicians to be factory trained. So they are well rounded in um, in our generators. So we do offer a 24-hour emergency service. So if anything were to go wrong in the middle of the night, we are definitely here 24/7 for our customers. And a lot of the times what I'll do when we get an emergency call is I will actually walk the customer through if they are capable. So that way it kind of saves them a service call. Because if I have to pull someone out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's going to cost the customer. So what I usually do is I'll try to walk the customer through on how to clear code, get it going, and go from there. We also offer monitoring services. So we'll put monitors on your generators. So this way too, if you have any elderly people that are on like oxygen or they really need this generator for their backup, we do offer a monitoring service. So if their generator does happen to go down prior to an outage, we actually monitor it in-house so we can try to catch that before the generator um, is needed. So that way it just saves interruptions, and the panic with people that, do need it for medical. So some of the services that we offer are sales, installation. So we do warranty and non-warranty repairs. Um, it's really important if you have a customer with a generator, excuse me, and it is a warranty, you need an authorized dealer to deal with that. Because if you just have Joe Schmo down the road, come fix it, you void the warranty. Excuse me. Um, so we do annual maintenances, inspections. So we'll do semis, annuals. On some of the bigger buildings, for the life safety generators, they need load bank testing. So the load bank is where you hook it up to the generator, and you, excuse me, you turn it up as far as you can because you want that engine going to see if it's going to fail. So we do offer those services, the remote monitoring, 24 hours. And, if your customer likes to do his own fixing or maintenance, we do carry the parts as well. Excuse me. So here are some of the brands that we represent. So our biggest brand that we represent is Generac. But we also deal with Kohler and Briggs. So we are certified in all of those areas. But we also do deal with and fix things outside this brand. So when you get into some of the industrial generators, you'll come into like Cummins and the bigger ones. We don't typically deal with Cat because they have their own contracts. Um, but those are the brands that we do represent. Generac is, the monster of the generator industry. Um, And okay, so on the next slide, why do we need a generator? So it's super important because our grid is so unstable, um, especially if you guys are selling in the Stouffville area, you know that they're always without power because the grid is so bad. So it does help reduce your food spoilage. It keeps your fridges and freezers going. Any medical concerns, like your sleep app, any lifts, machines, any of your beds, um, um, home maintenance. So this is really good for like kind of the rural places as well, because your sub pumps. A lot of people that have sub pumps in their basement, they only have about an hour, maybe two, before that thing starts overflowing. So at least this will keep your basement safe. Now, going back to the medical concerns, what you can do if your customer is looking for this and it's medical and they get a doctor's note, they can actually take this to their accountant and it becomes a write-off because it is a need. So it actually helps customers, be able to afford this because now they can use part of it as a write-off because it is for medical. Um, some insurance companies, depending, will also give you a break when it comes to, especially if you're with sub pumps and stuff like that. So sometimes your insurance company will give them a break, knowing that their house is protected from not flooding. Um, high security alarms and stuff like that. Very important, especially this day and age. Um, you know, having all your cameras going. And then the basics is, when we went through COVID, a lot of it was homeschooling. So um, they had to have their laptops running and stuff like that. And I had a lot of customers actually just saying, I just want to keep the kids out of my hair. So if the Wi-Fi is working, then we're fine. Just, that was their main concern was to keep the kids out of their hair. So so those are typical reasons. So on the next slide, um, we do have a good, better, best option. So, we have a good option. It's the portable, it's cost effective. Um, Sometimes not ideal, depending on the age of the customer. They could be elderly. There are different ways. It's called a Generlink, and that Generlink goes on the meter of your bubble. So that way they don't have to run extension cords everywhere. They can actually just plug it in to their main meter, hook up the generator, and run a few items like their lights, sub pump, fridge, all of that stuff. So they don't literally have to have an extension cord going through windows and stuff like that. So that is a really good option. Um, then we have the better option. So if you only want a few things in your house, so you don't want to buy this massive generator because it's expensive, we can literally pick circuits from your home. So you just want your heat, your fridge, a couple of lights. You have up to about 16 circuits that you can run on a smaller generator. Then you have the best option, which is you've got your whole home running. So we put a transfer switch at the main meter or in by your panel, and you have access to your whole home. So, um, typically we don't use everything all at once anyways, but this is a nice option, because you have lights in every room, you don't have to pick through circuits. And, it's, most customers go with this option. But if you're on a budget, there are different things that can help. So, um, now on the next slide, um, excuse me, we do free home assessments. So you're not, obligated to buy anything, but this is really good, especially if they want knowledge, right? So a lot of the times when we go to a person's house, it's not about selling them. It's literally about teaching them. And because a lot of people are a do-it-yourself type of people. This is not a do-it-yourself. You have to have licensed electricians, gas fitters, technicians. You have to make sure that it's not just a plug and play. So literally, Frank and myself, we will go to people's houses and we'll just teach them on, what this does and why it does what it needs and what you need, what's the best solution for that customer. Um, and we just answer all of their questions that they might have. So, and then we give them an estimate, and then we can do that good, better, best for them because it's all depending on you know, on their budget because they do get quite expensive. So, um, on the next slide, these are the options that we offer. So we have annual servicing. So annual servicing has to be done, especially if it's warranty, has to be done every year. I know sometimes the customer will look in the manual and say, no, it has to be done, or it can be done every 2 years. But the fine print is if you live in Canada, because of the temperatures up and down, it has to be done every year. We do offer annual, quarterly inspections, monthly inspections. Um, for your typical residential, they don't typically go with the monthly or the quarterly. They'll sometimes just do a semi, so we can go in, check on it, make sure everything's good, working as designed. Um, and then we do the testing, like I had mentioned before, with the load banking. This is for the fire safety, just to make sure, because with a life safety unit for the commercial, um, that generator is supposed to be the last man standing in that building. So, this thing needs to run till the very end. So it's very important, if you do deal with commercial buildings, that they do have these load bankings done. And typically the fire department will ask for these reports because if that generator is to fail and they haven't had the proper um, maintenance or testing, they can get fined big time. And then we do the diagnostics on warranty and non-warranty repairs. um, so, so on the next slide, what is this going to cost my client? So every installation is different. So it's all depending on where your gas meter is, your hydrometer, and where the client really wants this because they are quite loud. So you don't want them outside your bedroom because if it does click in the middle of the night, you're going to wake up. Um, but typically, on the average house that's about 2,000 square feet, you're looking at approximately 14,000 to have an air-cooled generator installed. So that includes the generator, the transfer switch, all the installation, the gas, electrical, the whole fire up, and we also provide a tutorial for the customer so they understand how how it works, what to expect. Um, and then when we do install, we actually offer them a free monitoring for the 1 year. That way we can keep an eye to make sure that their generator's operating perfectly. And we do a break-in oil change. Now, when somebody has a brand new unit, you want to do a break-in oil change. So we try to get the customer to run that generator for about 25 hours. Doesn't have to be consistent, but we want it running on load to get that break-in oil through the engine, get the synthetic out, or put the synthetic in, sorry. Um, so that's kind of typically how we treat our customers, because we know that it's super important, especially in the winter. You want to get that break-in oil out as fast as you can with the synthetic in. So, and that's pretty much the costs of a basic installation. Again, you've got the good, better, best options. So on the next slide, so I have literally taken over. My father is slowly retiring now, so I have taken over Bulldog, and but my sales rep that does go out. His name is Frank Friesen. He's an amazing guy. He's very personable, loves people, loves to talk. So we do like to maintain those good relations, and um, so Frank is a really good resource as well. So if you guys have any questions, or even after this something comes up, you're more than welcome to reach out to either of us, and we can definitely help you or your customers. And then that's about it for us. Is there any questions?
Anna, you were first. Go ahead.
So I have three questions actually. When you were speaking
Go for
about the monthly services or quarterly services, are they
Yeah,
free or you have to pay for that?
yeah, there is a fee to that. Yes.
And how much would that be?
Depending on the size of the generator, but typically a monthly inspection I believe it's around the 175 mark.
Hmm.
Oh,
Okay,
and typically that's for the industrial side of things, not so much the residential.
okay. So for residential, you don't need the monthly
You
checkup,
don't
right?
really need it. Yeah. Yeah. For residential, I would suggest the annual for sure. And then sometimes 6 months in, we'll do the semi. So
Okay,
depending on the customer and, because if
thank
they're
you.
elderly, they
Got you. Okay. The monthly, speaking about the second question, when we talk about the 14,000 plus, do
can.
you have any plans? Does it have to be lump sum or you have like monthly payments with a smaller deposit?
So typically what we do is we do ask for a deposit, but we also work with a financing company.
Mhm.
So if your customer is not able to pay that lump sum, we do work with a financing company that will be able to put them on a monthly payment. Um, Typically, sometimes they do have deals coming out where you don't have to pay for like 3 months, and then they'll start the clock um,
Got you.
with the
Okay.
interest.
And the last question from my side.
Yeah.
If the generator needs to be installed in the areas like rural areas where there's no natural gas, so what kind of fuel is you use to run the generator?
Yeah, so we would have to use propane.
Hmm.
So depending because if your customer is all electric or they're on oil, we will have to put in a propane tank. And typically that is a contract through the propane supplier. And we do have good contacts with especially one, the Carling Propane. They're really good with us.
Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, hey. I had two quick questions. So one, you mentioned about how there's like half home, like partial home and whole home. Is there any way like out at showings for us that we could identify the difference?
Yes, there is. Typically, if you see a transfer switch right by the main meter, that's a whole home option. If you see a transfer switch in the basement and it looks like little circuit breakers,
Okay,
and you'll know that that's just a circuit load um, transfer switch. Sometimes um, you will see a whole home transfer switch in the basement as well. Sometimes if you take that cover off and you see a main breaker in there, you know that that's for a full home. But typically you will see the breakers inside that transfer switch that's visible. Um,
gotcha. And outside, it just looks like kind of a big box on the wall, like a big breaker.
yeah, yeah, like just one large box, and then if you take that cover off, you will see like a main breaker switch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then my other quick question before we can dive on to the other people. So I mean, we sell a lot of homes with generators. I honestly I didn't realize they had to get serviced annually. So I
Yeah.
guess when we're selling those homes, is that something like if these guys didn't install with you, if they're buying a house that has a generator, they could call you guys to come look at it and service?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, we're more than welcome. You know, the more the merrier. We do have, you know, a lot of customers. Over 4,000. So, you know, the better I can keep my boys busy, the happier they are.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Shifa, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, good morning. Thank you so much. This has been great. Quick question for you. Um, if we're offering on a property that has one of the units, I guess it could be any brand, as part of our due diligence, I know the inspector would check at the hydro panel to make sure that it's connected properly, but what other inspection or conditions or clauses can we include that would protect the buyer? Well, and by that I mean, like what more can we ask for? Do we ask for that quarterly inspection and have the inspector look through, make sure that it's um, a healthy unit? Like, what are some of the other ways we can protect the buyer?
Yeah, so first of all, if your customer is buying a home with the generator, make sure a lot of the times on the transfer switch, you'll see like a little ESA sticker, which means ESA is the Electrical Safety Authority that has actually um, put their sticker on it and they've said, yes, this is okay. I know with our customers, we will send them a hard copy of that report. So it would be good to have your whoever's selling the house, maybe to have that paperwork for your customer. Um, because it's super important. Because if they did do a shoddy job, do it yourself, and I pulled my own meter type of thing, it's not going to be um, it's not going to be passed properly.
So how would I name that certification? ESA pass certified connection? Like what would I?
ESA certificate. Oh my God, ESA certification for the generator and the transfer switch.
I'm just taking a note. Thank you so much. As far as testing the unit, I guess when we ask if a unit is under a rental contract, that includes the generator, but um, I lost my train of thoughts.
Yeah, well, if it's a rental, that means that it has, I think it's only Reliance that does those rental units. But if the homeowner does own the actual generator, then definitely you can call us to come in and we can fire it up and kind of give you a report on, yes, this is working okay. A lot of the times too, depending on who the service provider is, they should have reports on, yes, I've done my annual, this is the notes that have come back. They should have all of those reports, or they can reach out to their service provider for those reports.
Okay, so typically you're saying these units should go inspected at least minimum once a year. So the seller would definitely have something on hand. Do you produce a report every time an inspection is done? One
Yes.
that we could obtain? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So we do have job reports, but typically what we do, unless it's actually called for, we put all of the notes on the invoice. But if you do come back to us and say, hey, can I have the report? We can actually send you job reports on what my guys have done. It shows you the hours on the machine, um, you know, the battery, when the battery was last done. It gives you all the information.
Amazing. Thank you.
No problem.
I have
No,
one
go
more
ahead.
question, sorry. When we spoke, like Jake spoke about the partial services, can you give like the lowest price, for example, if it's only generator providing the service only to the, let's say you mentioned furnace and fridge, how much
Right.
would that cost? Like any,
So you're still looking around the 9,000, probably the 9 to 10,000 mark. Um, the only thing that you're actually saving on is the generator size itself, because we still have to run the cables, we still have to run the gas line. So you're literally just saving the cost on the actual size of the generator.
Got you. Yeah, it makes sense. Instead of
Yeah.
10,000 to pay 14,000. It's not a big difference.
It's not a huge difference, but you know, again, that could just be their budget and that's what they can afford. So
So good. I also have one question. So you mentioned a few times that they're very noisy.
yes.
So if you're in let's say a subdivision, do you have to have a permit for a generator in order to run it?
No, you don't need a permit. Um, now I know in certain, so we actually do the Ballantrae golf course. All
Mhm.
the homes in there. Those
Yep.
you need permits for, and they have to be approved by the board.
Is this something you guys take care of? You take care of the permits, or is the
We,
customer
yeah,
responsible
no,
for
we,
that?
we take care of all permits.
Yeah.
We'll go to the board if it needs to. We'll help walk the customer through because it's just easier. Um, you know,
Sure.
um, but typically you don't need permits for these. Um, and
But I guess you guys would know when you come out
yeah,
to the customer, depending on where they live,
yeah,
you would be like, okay, you're gonna need a permit, just because of where you are. The houses are very close, or whatever the reason is.
yeah.
And okay,
Yeah, because
perfect.
I know like Newmarket, they have a different bylaw.
Right.
So it's really weird because you have to be, when we install it, we have to be 5 feet off of any operable windows, any doors, any point of entry into the home. And that could be an intake, or we have to be minimum 5 feet. I like to be more. But in the town of Newmarket, they just brought out the bylaw. You have to be 15 feet off of a neighboring window. So we installed one, and then they brought this bylaw out, and we had to move it because we were 13 and a half feet away from a neighboring window, and it has to be 15. But that's only Newmarket. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But
Right.
but yeah, there's different bylaws for each little town.
Mhm.
But most of them, it's not too bad right now.
Awesome. Good to know. This was so informative.
Yeah.
We're so appreciative that you were able to hop on this morning and give us all this amazing information. We'll make sure everyone gets Elena's contact information and Frank's contact information So for your clients and also for yourselves, maybe, because who wants a phone that runs out of the battery and a blackout agents, right? So nobody wants that.
No, that's it. And if there's any questions, even if you're with a customer, you know, feel free to call me and I'll answer your questions while the customer's there.
Perfect. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So great.
Uh,
Thank you so much, Elena. Everyone, make
Yeah.
amazing things happen today. Have an incredible day and weekend, and we'll see you all next week.
Awesome. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.